Welcome back, Troy. I've got another one here from Frank Zanu, and this one's titled No Black Country Will Ever Develop.
Let me ask you, the 63 black countries in the world, do you know any black country where the people who live in it founded it? By founding, I mean a group of people, like the Yoruba kingdom, moving around and came upon a land that is fertile, has what they want, and they settled there. Even if they have to kill the indigenous and steal their women, they did, and they made it into a republic. Is there such a thing on earth? A place, a country, where the blacks who live in it were the ones who founded it? The Caribbean, the 13 black countries, Africa has 54 of them put together, the largest race on earth by number of countries. Which black country do you know where the people who live in it founded it?
I just know one that was...
Who founded Ghana? Which Ghanaian founded Ghana?
Kwame Nkrumah.
No. British founded Ghana and gave it to him when he was complaining too much he needs independence.
But that was
Who founded Nigeria?
Ghana, though.
Which?
I actually do not know.
That's correct, because no Nigerian founded Nigeria. The Benin Kingdom founded Benin Kingdom. Oduduwa founded the Yoruba. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm talking about Nigeria.
But I see what you're saying. Okay, what about like Ethiopia, a country that was never colonized?
Sierra Leone was never colonized.
Sierra Leone?
Yes, they just pulled back slaves there. So what? It doesn't mean anything. Still, their country was carved by the Europeans. So how do you expect that a people can build something they did not design?
Good
I'm
question.
trying to lead you slowly. Your conclusion, not mine, but all the people who are going to listen, because you guys are going to become members of parliament in the future. You are going to be the leaders of this continent. If you want to go back, you need to have something in your mind to say, this is what is wrong and I want to change it. Otherwise, we are all going to be swimming in the dark for the rest of our lives. No black country on earth will become industrialized. Impossible. You said resources. People keep complaining and telling you that the reason African countries can develop is because the white people stole the resources. It's a lie. There are 4 resources nobody can steal. Water is one of them. Did you see tanks from Britain taking all your water away? No. Fela sang a song in 1981. Water house, food house. Hey, Kpalikpao, waiting to them, right? 1981. Do you know how many years ago? He was complaining about there is water overground. The Niger River goes through Nigeria. No Nigerian can get a cup of water, pure one, from his pipe in his own room. You have tanks on every building. That's one. They didn't take it away. The second one is land. The colonials didn't take it away. You have vegetative land in Nigeria. If Japan own it, they will feed half of the world with food export. The third one, solar energy. 365 days, we don't get winter, we don't get spring, we don't get autumn. It's there. Have you harvested it? You go build an electric car. When you can't even give people electricity in their homes in Burkina Faso, what are you going to use to charge? You understand? So solar, that's the third one. So the fourth one is, of course, manpower resources, okay? From the intellect into physical. They didn't take it away. So all 4 things that help other countries to build themselves, you have it. You have it more than anybody. The Congo alone, the Congo has water reserve enough to feed the whole of Central Africa for the next 250 years and not even have a drop. The kids in Congo can't even take a clean shower because of lack of water. Turkana is the northern part of Kenya. It took some foreign guys from Denmark to tap into the aquifer to know that Turkana has over 200 trillion, I don't know even the number, how they measure water, liters in Kenya. But the people of Turkana, every year, their cattle and humans will die. You can see it. And we will be sending them in Pesa. And foreigners will rush there to save. They can't tap the water to feed themselves.
So what do you think the internal issue is? Are you asking us to come to that
But
conclusion?
you are the one who said I'm crazy by saying you can't develop. Now we have seen clearly that nothing has been taken away. You have everything. So when we are not blaming the colonials for stealing resources, which is a boogeyman we use just to explain, as if we are the only ones who were colonized. If stealing
That's such a good
resources-
point. That's such a good point. That it's used as a scapegoat, the boogeyman, that you are colonized, therefore you haven't developed because the colonial powers are meddling and have broken you beyond belief somehow. Yet nobody talks about like China was taken over by Europeans. Part of Europe was taken over by the Ottoman. Genghis Khan and the Golden Horde just rolled over Moscow all the way into as far as Budapest. Everybody was subservient to somebody at one point. Hell, the Europeans, they've enslaved each other too. Rome, practically the empire, colonized the savages of the north and Romanized them. So, and then of course, Persia, all the other empires of North Africa, all that stuff. Latin America is a good example of an entire continent that was colonialized and it is now industrialized. It's not on the level of Africa. So why is it? And that's the good question to ask. Why is it that Africa isn't developed? Look at China, massively developed. Look at the other southeastern countries, massively developed. Everywhere you look, Central Asia, the steppes, they have developed. You know, why is it that only in one part? What is the common factor? So, and why is it that way? You can't just say it's colonialism because everybody else got colonized. You're not the only one. Now, that argument might work if somehow you were the only one in the history of humanity that got colonized. Was it slavery? Well, everybody was enslaved at one point. Quite literally, Romans had slaves. The Greeks had slaves. The Middle Eastern empires all had slaves. They have slaves currently in North Africa, by the way. Europeans were enslaved. The word slave comes from Slavs, as in Slavic people that were known to be slaves in Middle Eastern empires. Massive slave trades going on. Everybody enslaved everybody in antiquity. It's nothing new. So it can't be slavery because we were all descended from probably a slave at one point. Somebody got enslaved somewhere. And then it can't be colonialism because it happened all over the world. And so what is left? What could it possibly? Resources? Can't be resources because we're constantly told Africa is the most bountiful, the richest, that has the most resources of any continent. Quite literally, you could look at any African country and go, wow, the amount of resources Africa has would make any other nation jealous. So what is it then? Strange, yeah?
Is the reason for colonization. Benin will not be colonized. We have nothing but coconut trees on the beach. Gambia wouldn't be colonized. Fiji Island wouldn't be colonized. Many places, Gambia wouldn't be colonized. It's not for stealing resources. It's too expensive and it's too cumbersome. Colonials, they don't steal resources, and they didn't. Everything you discovered now was discovered after colonization. But we use it as a boogeyman. And when we're not talking about resources, the countries that don't have resources, they say, oh, it's our leaders, they are corrupt. It's not true.
Corruption.
Those leaders you have that you keep saying, where did you employ them from? China? They are from among you, right? Yeah. So every 4 years, randomly, you pick one of you, but you expect that person to know different from what you know?
Not different, but they should be willing to...
Willing? What do you mean willing? Willing happens if you know what you do.
I feel like they should, like picking like presidency, especially like in Nigeria, like they should see the things that us, like, you know, people struggle with in society. So we expect them to like, okay, like this is what we're struggling with. This is what...
It is your fault. How do you know that he has what it takes to fix it?
No, I'm not saying that he has what it takes. I'm saying that like people expect, like, I think like in Nigeria, because like people like are trying to vote for like presidency and things like that, and we all expect for the president to like see what is going on in the society and say, okay, like we hope for you to like make this change, and like, you know, they'll put like their stuff out there.
You know, when you hear like being said like so many like times, it makes you like tune out completely. Like I can't deal with it.
Saying, oh, I will address this, I will address this, and then when they see, it's like the exact opposite of like...
Yes, because you corrupted them.
Who corrupted them?
The masses. No African leader is corrupt.
That just makes... You're going to have to elaborate on that.
They are corrupted.
So how we corrupt... Like, the people corrupted the... Like, what? Like, what do you mean by corrupted? Like who...
So,
corrupted?
when computers started, right? When we had computers in high towers, you know that computer has a program in it. And so you have to only introduce what it can use the program to understand, right? So when people use malware to introduce your hard drive, what do you say happened to your hard drive? My hard drive is corrupted, which means you gave it something to do that is not part of what he knows how to do. Colonials left behind a political system, and you hang on to it, and then you're picking one of you to use it to do something. You said that's what you wanted. You said every 4 years you want to go out there and pick one of you to lead you. So somebody said, okay, pick me. Look at my suit, it's nice, and I speak your language. And you picked him. You've introduced a tax to this man or woman who you don't know if he knows he doesn't own a country. We just proving to you there is no country. But you're asking him to lead something that is not there. If you give your Lamborghini to your 7-year-old, you've corrupted his skills. He runs into people or he runs into a tree. The people you've been picking since independence don't know how to do what you're asking them to do. So you corrupt their skills.
So we've, like, you're saying us Nigerians have corrupted, like, the presidents or something like that?
Yes.
That's happened.
You are just a corrupt in waiting. They make any of you MP right now, you'll be corrupt. So because what they're asking you to work on is not natural to you. It's foreign. The villages where...
So he's talking about dismantling the post-colonial system. Basically, governance. Their governance, the way their cities are set up, states are set up, the nation state is a European invention. The way Europe started its nation state building was, I guess, from the African perspective, were tribes, you can call them, or kingdoms, middle kingdoms, whatever. Each had their own king and bannermen and all that stuff. And they married into and combined forces. And then eventually, that combination ended up forming what you call the state. France, Spain, the Kingdom of France, the Kingdom of Spain, the United Kingdom. It's in the name, United Kingdom, right? You have a whole bunch of little tribes that were living amongst each other, and they were all combined into one nation state due to threats from the outside, due to, intertribal competition, you could say, for resources, for power, for influence, for whatever it was, right? Trade, stuff like that. So throughout history, Europe actually went through an evolution of forming a state. Africa never went through the evolution of forming a state. It stayed with the tribes at the tribal level, had a few kingdoms of larger tribes, but never forced, or I should say never created the complex systems that were required of Europe. That makes a lot of sense, actually. So in a way, Africans won't ever be able to govern themselves in the European style. So the only way, because you imagine, like he was saying, and also it's very it's well known that in any African country, there's like 1 million languages spoken in each country from so many tribes. Like these countries are absolutely massive. People have no idea the size of like one African country. It is gargantuan. They're huge, absolutely massive. When you look at the square miles of something like Nigeria and you overlay it over the size of Europe, stupendous size of these countries. And you can imagine if that were in Europe, you have like 20 different countries in there. Well, in Europe, all these countries have went to war with one another at one point in time in history. These people have killed each other, have rallied together, a couple of small ones to fight one big one, married their royalty off and became allies, and then formed states because they had to fight off other bigger ones or empires. So it's like that natural evolution that formed the nation state in Europe, that never happened to such an extent in Africa. So now Africans are left with, let's just say post-colonialism, the lines drawn on a map by Europeans. And instead of disintegrating along tribal lines and allowing that natural evolution to take place of human society, in essence, like go to war, as crazy as that sounds, it's like, well, they all need to go to war. You kind of need to create a nation state. Like the strong must take over the weak. Then you coagulate into something larger, and then you form a natural larger kingdom, and then that kingdom may marry and ally with some other kingdom, and then that begins the coagulative force naturally to essentially create your first nation state with its own identity that was founded by the people, with its own history, stories, culture, all that stuff. It's very interesting to think about it from that perspective. So in essence, if we go back, Africa hasn't developed yet because it wasn't allowed the natural process. Maybe you could say in this specific sense, because again, when we compare to Latin America, it's not a one-to-one crossover because Latin America didn't have to go through this. They had, the Incas, Aztecs, Mayas, but the countries that were formed there, essentially all speak Spanish for the most part, except obviously Brazil, which is Portuguese, but all administered mostly by the upper class, which are remnants of Europeans. And then it created the societies that are there. Still, their upper class are Europeans in general, lighter skin if you look at Latin America. And those in the administrative sectors in society are usually Europeans. So Europeans sort of still run society. They call themselves Latin American and all this stuff, but they have more European blood. Right, so that system is still run by leftover Europeans, you could say. And then in Africa, it's full African. And so because that system didn't carry over, they didn't have the administrators remain, they all left. Now they have to essentially manage a system that they never created or built. And how can you possibly do that when you don't understand why it functions, how it should function, the way it should function? And you have 50 different languages in one country where all the people think they're different and don't want to be ruled by the next tribe over. It makes it almost impossible to remain as a country, which is why you had South Sudan separate from Sudan, which is why you have so much ethnic conflict in Africa. You're forcing a bunch of tribes to live under one banner, which they don't claim. And the natural evolution for Africa is widespread war until it all gets settled. And the strongest survive and form nation states and alliances. And then that is how you reach peace. Ironically, it's like speed running Europe's history to form the nation state. How do you do this without war and bloodshed? I don't know. That's interesting because Europe would have never made it to where it did without the war and the bloodshed to draw hard lines on a map of my land, your land. Stay out of my shit, I'll stay out of your shit. And it took a bunch of people dying for that to happen. So now imagine trying to do that with the hundreds of thousands of languages in Africa. And it's like, well, who wins? Well, it's like, but we kind of don't want them to go through that hell on earth. Bro, it's hell on earth already for a bunch of people in Africa. If you want these people to lead themselves into a better future, maybe there are dark times ahead. I'm not sure. It's an interesting thought experiment, though.
You come from? Do you use ballot to pick the chief? They know you from age 12. By who you are, what you can do. And that's how we picked our leaders in Africa for hundreds of years.
Okay, so are you saying that if we implemented like a system so in Ghana, in my culture, the way like picking a chief works is there are 5 royal families and then it rotates each family at a time. Mm-hmm. Are you saying that if that happened with like our government?
How can it happen with your government?
Well,
you don't have Ghana.
Possible.
You don't have a country called Ghana or Ghanaians. So whom are you picking?
That just makes no sense.
So is the political system the issue? Like
I don't know. I'm giving you things for you to make your own conclusion.
There's no Ghana.
There's no Ghana. There's no Nigeria. Who is a Nigerian? You are a Nigerian only when you leave the country and you are abroad. You said, I'm from Nigeria. But when you ask a Chinese, they don't say, I'm from China. They say, I'm Chinese. Japanese will say, I'm Japanese. Ask Africans, they always say, I'm from. It means you're talking about a physical location that was created by some foreigner, and a bunch of you who have nothing in common lives there.
Okay,
but in Nigeria, there's nobody says I'm Nigerian. You say I'm Igbo. I'm Yoruba.
Have the WASP unity that you referred to earlier.
Pardon me?
Just because we don't have the WASP, like.
Of course you don't have it.
Yeah. So we're not we're just not Ghanaian. We're just like you're Akan, you're Ga.
That's correct. Do you know? And it's a metaphor. I love it. I read it. Do you know the Tower of Babel in the Bible? Mm-hmm. What was the main thing that stopped the tower from being built?
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Jesus.
I don't remember.
Do you know the Tower of Babel? Yes.
I know the story.
Language.
Tell the story.
I just know like a group of people were building the Tower of Babel, and then they kept on going. As they're building it, I believe like they came across like I forgot. They came across like a fire or something like that, and like I think a fire like stopped on one of them, each on one of them, and they started speaking different languages.
So a group of people with one language, one culture, was building a tower successfully. For some sick reason, God looked down and changed their languages, and they started speaking different languages, and the tower stopped.
So that's what they did to us, or we did that to ourselves?
I don't know. I'm just describing things. You have to make the conclusions. What does a tower represent?
Development.
That's correct. Every time they say something is developed, you do this, right? So it's a metaphor. A tower represents development, growth. But it's only possible, I said it to you from the beginning, you got to have language. One. Do you know how America struggled to make sure Spanish is not even a second language here? Because they know what it can cause. You don't have that. You don't have a national culture. You don't have a national history. You don't have a national identity. So where is patriotism and nationalism?
But you're making it seem, well, I'm understanding it in the way that you're explaining it, that it's not exactly a bad thing, but like it's the division in the countries is what the problem is, why we can't develop. But that's what makes, I think that's what makes our African pride, like having so much
African
diversity,
pride.
but like in that one place, even though that doesn't make us
That's exactly what's weakening you. Listen, I traveled through Eastern Europe and I lived in Romania for a couple of years. After, of course, lived in America most of my life and came back here temporarily to retire my parents in Bucharest. I'm now in Croatia. And I can tell you right now, living in Eastern Europe, to see what a super majority of your own people is like. I talk about this all the time, the brotherhood, the patriotism, the nationalism. When you're looking at a person across the street, no matter who it is, if they look like you, they speak the same language as you, they're from the same place you are, they have a same shared history, their family fought and bled for and died for this exact country. We all share the exact same thing. We have the same exact experience. We like the same exact food. We have the same exact religion. I can't describe just how unifying and incredible it feels to be in a super majority of your own people. This is what Western Europe's losing. This is what America's losing. That is why mass immigration and multiculturalism is destroying the West. They have lost the supermajority. They have lost the unified identity that made the countries into what they were that everybody else wanted to come and be a part of. Africa's currently dealing with that same exact issue, but on like a native level. You had people in, let's say, Nigeria, 70 different languages. We're just using a random number. There's probably more. So you have 70 different types of people that are probably marking themselves in some way to differentiate themselves, whether it's like a something here, something there, whatever it is, armor they're wearing, like warriors used to do, the tribesmen, the tribal, like something they're marking themselves so you know exactly who they are and where they're from, right? They have their own identity, their own culture, their own language, their own way of life, their own way of governance on that local level. That's what he's talking about. Unfortunately, you have this wrapped up in the native level, and then you're wondering why, oh shit, our countries, we can't seem to get out of the corruption. You vote in one of the 70, the one is going to help the ones group. The other 69 get screwed. Imagine that constant, nonstop. Why do you think European countries, especially during World War II, for example, with ethnic cleansing and genocides and all that stuff, and it's even happening today, like Turkey with the Kurds in Syria and where is that? In Eastern Turkey, right? Why do you think these nations are expelling all these minority groups out of their countries or have attempted to, or historically have committed genocide, ethnic cleansing, and have completely removed a minority from within their country? Why do you think that historically has happened? It's easier to govern a country when you're a super majority, when it is just your people. There are no special interests. There's no carve-outs. You don't have to cater to 70 different other types of people and what they want. And if you're one of them, you have to give them special treatment because they voted you and they feel like their community didn't receive anything because, hey, bro, you're one of us. You should be helping us first. Then that's why we put you in power. And that leads to a whole bunch of other problems. That's why you need a unified culture, or a unified system, at least backed by the government. Like Yugoslavia was different Slavic nations, Balkan Slavs, and they were brutally oppressing any form of nationalism along ethnic lines. You were from Yugoslavia. You weren't a Croat. You weren't a Serb. You weren't anything else, a Bosniak. Nope. You were just from Yugoslavia. And if anybody showed ethnic nationalism, they were put down brutally. What happened after Tito died? Yugoslavia fell apart. Why? Because ethnic violence rose up again. The Serbs wanted power. Bosnians wanted power. The Croats wanted power, independence, whatever it was. Macedonia, power, independence, all that stuff. And then they all broke apart and turned into smaller nations. Weaker individually, collectively, they were much stronger and would have been much richer. But that is how deep the division is, that a people like a Serb and a Croat can look at each other as an enemy, although they look the same, almost the same. To an outsider, you look exactly the same. To non-whites, they look exactly the same. They can't tell a Serbian and a Croat, but a Serbian and a Croat could tell each other the difference, or anybody else in the Balkans. But outsiders couldn't. That's what happened in Africa. Outsiders can't tell the difference between this tribe and that tribe, but the tribes could. And look what happened on the European side. We have the Balkan Wars, ethnic cleansing, violence, genocide. This is what happens when you try to have a country of too many different people in there. It happened in Europe. It's going to continue happening in Africa until they sort this out. And how did Europe sort it out? Well, fuck, look at Russia and Ukraine. Still sorting it out, battling over land, over where ethnically Russian people live. 1 million white men dead. You have your answer. It's a brutal one that nobody wants to admit. It's going to take death, war, violence, probably ethnic cleansing, brutal oppression of smaller tribes in order for nation states to form by the power of their own people. The most dominant tribes have to rise up and submit the rest. And it has to be done on African terms. And that's probably the only way that they can begin to build nations and then industrialize. That's like, I don't know if anybody's ever thought of it in this kind of context, but if you think about it a little deeper, it's like, wow, yeah, maybe that is the only way. Maybe historically, because look at China, same shit. Guys, if you look at China, look, China has a very long history of dynasties. How many millions of Chinese went to war with each other in what is now the territorial of China? Think about it. All the dynasties that have went to war with one another, the empires that have risen and fallen, they were warring amongst themselves. That's crazy. It happened everywhere. Everywhere where there is developed nations, it already happened. It just hasn't happened in Africa yet. And I don't think the world can stomach what that means if it has to happen in Africa in order for them to build nation states. Like, is the rest of the world going to just sit by and watch that kind of chaos and destruction? Is there another way? Is there a cleaner way to do this? Do people willingly give up power? That's the question. Do you think a nation like Nigeria will willfully, the government will willfully just, we'll split off into 70 different tribes, that's fine, and give up the kind of power the people at the top currently have? By the way, those very same people at the top that are benefiting tremendously while the rest are impoverished, the corruption that is rampant, it's rampant. Corruption is endemic everywhere in every single government, everywhere from China to the West to Africa, Latin America. There's corruption at the top of every single government. Yeah, it's worse in other places. It's still there. But how do you get the people at the top, the corrupt, to let go of power? Not if they're still living, they won't. That's the truth. You need a revolution, right? Interesting to think about.
Develop to your, well, not to your standard, but like...
What have you benefited from that diversity?
I mean, I can say I come here and know who I am. And
but that's because you are a tree.
Yeah.
Not because you're Ghanaian. See, when I said your name, I could say it from anywhere and I said you are a tree. I wouldn't say you are Ghana. And that tree forms you.
Okay, so what about the individual tribes in those little countries? Do you think it's possible for those countries to develop? Like those little tribes, like...
No, but because you've made them to let go what is called in the development of a country, self-determination. That is a goal, self-determination. You've let them go. They can't. They can't. You're now saying you are Ghanaian, yet there is nothing You can't raise a child in Ghana as a Ghanaian. You can raise a child as a Twi kid with your values you have, your culture, your dance, your history, your traditions. You don't wake up in Ghana and say, I'm Ghanaian. You wake up as a Twi. When you look around, your inspiration, your determinations is forced by your culture. But now you don't have it. They don't teach it. You don't have it anymore. Ghanaian, you are not. Twi, you're not either. I'm not kidding. I want you to look at what I'm saying carefully.
I think
If there is no country on earth, black country, that was formed by the people who live in it. Every one of you are living in a guest house. You've seen people living in a guest house find the way to develop the main house better than the owner? Never. Why do we have the Oduduwa history? Because they were one people, one religion, one history, one ethnicity. You couldn't break in. That's why we have the tribal marks, to differentiate them so they can see each other and dream dreams. Why do we have the Benin Kingdom? Why do we have the Agbome Kingdom in Benin Republic? And the Ashanti Kingdom? Who fought the British? The Ashantis, because they were the most predominant in the area at the time. They were able to have an administration, form a palace with rulership, land division, everything. Where is it? They made you become, so it's not divide to conquer, it's unite to conquer. So what the colonial took away from you is not what you started fighting for after 1960. What they took away from you is that identity for self-determination. But all the idiots who got independence, Kwame Nkrumah included, and all of them, the first thing they started working on is economic development, because they saw the people who colonized them. We want to be like them. And we've been lost since then. You say you went to Ghana and you see change. Change happens everywhere. Change is not
That's
a
just what I
goal.
was understanding
So let me
as
ask you,
development.
name one thing in you two, one thing in Nigeria or in Ghana that was originally built by a Ghanaian in the realm of infrastructure that you guys are coming to work on. What is it?
can't say enough.
You can't say about you. 130 million people. Every day you are knowing the rest of us saying we are the giant of Africa. Yeah, cool. You can't manage a gas station, but yes, what is it you know, and I'm not kidding, that a Nigerian originally invented, built it, and now people are trying to build on it. What is it? Original. Using the 4 natural resources I just described. Look, I'm from Benin. I'm black as it comes. You know, Nancy and I used to go to Benin when I had my Heroes program. That's how proud I am from where. But that doesn't mean I'm blind to what I'm talking about. And Benin is only 3.5 million people with 49 different languages. They can't manage a public toilet.
I don't want to laugh.
But I would say, like, I agree with what you're saying. Like, I do feel like,
Oh my god.
because like it's some like people are aware. I feel like people are aware of like the resources that like we have already, that's in Nigeria already, that's like building on it. And then some people are like more focused on like back then trying to build up from like economic development and things like that.
From what?
But I just
what original economic system do you have in Nigeria?
I'm talking about like the past. Like people are like colonization back in the past. People are trying to like you said, like people are trying to use that and like build that up. But I do feel like there are certain individuals or like people in Nigeria that are aware of like the resources that like are around us that we already have. Like for example, like people are like building like oil company or like water company and things like that. And I feel like not everybody is aware that we do have natural resources ourselves that
They
we
are
can build.
aware.
Yeah. I feel like not everybody knows. 'Cause I feel
What
like
do you mean, you don't see the water?
No, I'm saying that people are like don't have that like knowledge or
So why
something.
would they have knowledge about something they don't have the capability to use? Why should I care myself about uranium when I don't know what to do with it?
Oof, damn.
But I feel like people are like they're not how can I say this? But like people, they're not like they see it. Of course, yeah, they see it, but I feel like they're not like able to say, okay, like let me learn what I can build from this.
And learn from where?
Like probably from I'll say from history, like from our
How
history.
do you learn how to build infrastructure from history?
Like people can like
building infrastructure is a capability. I'm talking about capability. Here, let me use the word so you can argue it. You sit around it, but you can't build it. Why? You don't have the capability. You don't. That's why you haven't done it in any black country, even though all the resources that everyone else have used. Listen, in 1945, thereabout, Japan was leveled with 2 atomic bombs. No other human country has ever suffered that completely. In 1945, Japan hasn't invented one thing. Yeah, they have airplanes they used to, but do you know what 1945? Your dad may be still alive, was born in the, yes. Do you see the country right now?
Yeah.
They are surrounded by salty ocean. They don't even have land. 73% of Japan, 126 million, is all taken by mountains. It's capability. Capability.
I remember seeing Japan after the Fukushima disaster, when they had the giant tsunami that brought down one of their nuclear reactors. And obviously it did tremendous damage to the earthquake itself, to the infrastructure, which they already have world-class earthquake-proof infrastructure. But imagine seeing roads just completely disjointed, roads in the city that have collapsed, right? Sewage pipes visible, stuff like that, bridges damaged, random stuff like that. And I remember contrasting that with Hurricane Katrina in the United States and watching people pillaging and looting. And you know what it was like seeing that shit on TV and seeing what was going on in New Orleans with Hurricane Katrina and the slow recovery of rebuilding New Orleans and shit like that. With the contrast of watching the Japanese rebuild after their tsunami/earthquake. It was insane. I remember, and I'll never forget this because it absolutely floored me. It was like a before and after picture, and they're like, Japan after the earthquake, and then it was, or right after the earthquake, and then it was like a week later. If it was even a week later, I'm not even sure. But it was a record amount of time where a huge section of an interstate or a road was massively damaged. I mean, beyond damaged. And within a few days, everything looked completely normal, redone, rebuilt. It was like they worked nonstop into the night and made people's way of life back to normal after a massive natural disaster. I was looking at that in shock and admiration. It's like indescribable. Like how are these people so well coordinated? How are they so capable? How is their society functioning so efficiently? It leaves you in awe when you see that stuff, because we've had natural disasters in, let's just say Eastern Europe or even Western Europe or other parts of the world, and it's everybody struggling to rebuild. Shit is broken down, looking terrible. It's been years. Construction is slow. Money got siphoned off to corruption and never got to the project. Delays left and right. They're moving slow as molasses. And then here you have like Japan, for example. And just within a week, they managed major repairs that would take any other country, besides probably China, months, if not a year to complete. Crazy, man. It's crazy.
But are you saying that we're lacking that capability because we don't have that self-determination?
No, not at all. It's natural.
It's natural?
It's a natural. So,
Yeah.
We're naturally lacking that capability?
Yes.
so you don't think we can build or have eventually have that capability to say, okay, let me start knowing what
Capabilities don't come eventually.
No,
they are either in you from the beginning or they're not.
Oh, shit.
Can a fish climb? No. So if that is what is required of the fish, it doesn't have that capability.
There's evolution.
No, I don't care. I won't be around for evolution. I'm talking about now. If that is what is required of the fish, the fruits are on the tree, right? Golden fruit. If the fish can reach it, the fish will become very rich. Plug it and sell it. Can the fish plug it? So the golden fruits will be there, and the fish will be here and be hungry. So your resources are there, but you're hungry because you don't have the capability. And you're refusing to accept it because it's too emotional for you.
I agree with that.
I am talking about 63 countries on earth. 14 makes ECOWAS. And just by accident, not even one, you have to see it on Instagram? And you still think that I'm saying something stupid. But why do you think you should have that capability? Let me ask you. You've traveled quite wide. Have you seen any car made in Saudi Arabia? No. Have you seen any electronics made in Saudi Arabia? Okay. Have you seen any internet service or product made in Saudi Arabia?
I haven't seen that.
Okay. You call the Saudi Arabia third world country? No. But they are full of infrastructure. It's working. How did they do it?
Whites. White, like Dubai. When I went to Dubai, I was shocked. It's all European made. It's all European designed with Arab money, essentially. Infinite oil money. They brought over European technology, European expertise, experts, specialists, and they designed and built Dubai backed by Arab capital. That's how Dubai, with slave labor, of course. So slave labor with European ingenuity and special or expertise backed by Arab capital. And when you have all those three together, you sprouted up a Dubai and whatever else in the Gulf states. All the other cities that look absolutely insane, like capitalism on steroids.
Okay, but like, so are you? I can't answer that question, but I'm posing another question.
Sure.
Are you saying that they have that capability?
They don't have it.
So
Yeah, they don't.
okay, the difference.
So what would the fish do to get the fruits? The fish would employ the skills of the monkey and say, bring it down, you get 10%, I get 90%. The problem is you're trying to do it yourself. Because you look outside and you think others can do it, we can do it. It's not true. I lived in Kenya for 5 years, straight 5 years. I live on a compound of about 2.5 acres of land, trees everywhere. For 5 years, the trees, the leaves never fell. Winter never came. Spring never came. My wardrobe was the same wardrobe, okay? Cotton shirt. By 11 a.m., I'm on the compound. Africa is the only tropical continent on earth. Have you seen any country that is industrialized and is tropical? No. Have you seen any country that have 4 seasons and looks like Sudan or Saleko? No. Okay. You see where I'm going? The only thing we didn't have and don't have is natural threat. Africa never suffered it. It's the most comfortable environment ever. You don't have to draw the water and store it because it never freezes.
And it's everywhere. Yeah.
I see.
But if you are born in a place like here, every 3 months, your brain is worried. So not because you're smart, it's just you have typhoon, hurricanes, tsunamis, tectonic plate shakes, earthquakes, winter up to here, killing people, springs, hardcore fall. What do you have? Owambe. Nothing ever threatens. And when that happens, over millions of years, the brain doesn't even predict. No. Africa is predictable.
So we just stay comfortable.
That's correct.
Wow. Now we're getting into evolution genetic talk. Oh my Lord.
So do you think that's an issue, like with us, like I'm not speaking just for Nigeria, but like some African countries where like it's comfortable in our own like space, thinking.
Yes. People want what we got, but you're saying I'm not developed. The only time that you became this and people can point fingers is because, like you two said, the only time I knew my country was not developed is when I came to the Western world. But
Interesting.
you're not a Western world. No wonder our people bleach because they think if they become white enough, they can change their environment.
What a good episode. Again, if you guys want to see more, I highly encourage you watch some of his stuff. I expect him to be blowing up over the next couple of years because he's going counter to the mainstream narrative. The victimhood, the oppression Olympics, the systemic this, the colonial that. He's actually having a conversation with people from the community about the community's issues, and I think it's very positive. Anyways, if you found this interesting, go watch his channel. It's Frank Zanu. And as usual, we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.